Hello, you wonderful people. So for today's video, as you can tell by the title, I am going to be talking about the movie Zootopia because I recently saw it for the first time. And as the title also tells you, this will be me talking spoilers. Obviously, I'm just going to run down like some of the thoughts about the story and stuff like that. Just talking about it in general, and I will be covering the entire movie. So if you've not seen it, do not watch this because it will spoil the movie for you. If you want my quick thoughts ahead of time before getting to spoilers and stuff like that, it's a very fantastic movie. Prior to me watching it, I'd already heard nothing but good things about it anyway, so I walked away from it going along with that same mentality. But yeah, it's a very good movie. It's very beautiful. It's a very interesting story. Obviously, you know, not only is it a very pretty movie, it tells a very cool, interesting story. It even built an entire very interestingly constructed world, which I'll kind of talk about in a little bit. But there's obviously like the moral angle of the story. Obviously, I won't go too deeply into it now, but obviously a little bit later on. That I thought was just like what the story did and what its way of approaching certain storyline elements I thought was very good, very funny. Like I said, there are some twists and turns to the plot that I didn't see coming, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But overall, like, it's just a very stellar movie. So if you have not taken the opportunity to, for whatever reasons, much like myself, you can go check it out. I know it's on home entertainment. I myself watched it on Netflix. I feel like I've been giving Netflix a lot lately. I tend to do that just because that's like the platform I typically watch a lot of stuff on, just because it's easier that way. But nonetheless, like, that's just kind of my, I guess you can call it almost a review, but that's just like, hey, I highly recommend this movie to you and anyone, no matter what your age, whether you're an older person or a younger person, whatever the case may be. It's a movie I feel like everyone can walk away from enjoy. So that's it. So after this point, I will be talking about spoilers. So if you stay, that means you've already seen the movie and you're okay with me just talking frankly about it. So kind of going deeper into everything, a lot of misconceptions I went into this movie having. Well, Nick and Judy, I thought they were going to be partners already. I thought he was a cop, but you kind of find out he's just kind of like a schemer. He like schemes a lot, like scams a lot of people. I did not know that was part of his character. Like, cause it made it, the commercials kind of made it seem like they were partners immediately. But it's like, nah, two people from two very different backgrounds kind of forced to kind of be together. I mean, obviously Nick becomes a cop at the end and everything, but still that just kind of took me by surprise. I was waiting. I was like, oh no, it's going to turn out he's actually some rough beat, pessimistic PI or something like that, private detective or something like that. But sure, no, not the case at all. Just some random scammer dude. And I even like the circumstances of like she's basically blackmailing him into helping her with the case and everything, and he's kind of like trying to worm his way out of it, but he finds a way around it. So I mean, they eventually kind of bond and actually become friends, and he has her back and she has his. Obviously there's that storyline element of just kind of like, I mean, that's what I was kind of bringing up earlier, is like the fact that the story handles so well is the element of prejudice, because it's a whole system of like nature versus nurture type of thing, almost of like everyone's predisposed to being who they are because it's like, oh, you're a predator. It's always going to be in your DNA. So it's like, it's to be expected. So when it came out like, oh, here are predators who are going back into their old form and kind of going quote unquote savage, it kind of brings up, I mean, it kind of tears Judy and Nick apart, because Judy always seemed like she was the most least biased, even with her experiences as when she was younger when it came to foxes and stuff like that. But when she first met Nick, she was trying to keep an open mind. Like at first she had it like, oh, he's up to something because he's a fox, because they're sly and conniving and stuff like that. But then she gave him a chance. I mean, then she turns out she was right, because he was sly and conniving. But that's also because Nick had grown up to be like that, because it's like people automatically assume the worst in him because he's a fox. So like I said, like they do a very good job of handling such a very serious subject of prejudice, like just assuming the worst of someone just because they're different from you, they're this and you're that, and I just thought that was beautifully constructed. I mean, because they kind of take, like, the story too also takes a flip on its head when it takes your main your main bad guy in the movie that turns out to be Miss Bellwether. Did not see that coming, and I always appreciate that when it's like a villain that you never see coming. And she was just like the meek, assistant mayor. You just didn't think much of her. She's like, oh, I have so much faith in you, Judy. It's just like, oh, she seems like the nicest person, and it's like she's behind everything. And I just thought that was such a beautiful touch, because it also plays into that role of like, you think just because she's on a smaller side that she's it fits in the category of prey, that you, because in your mind the entire time you're thinking like, okay, obviously this is someone who's you know, because immediately the mayor is blamed for everything, Lionheart, but then it's like, well, he's just a bumbling idiot that's trying to make the best of the situation. Did he go about it the right way? No, he went about it the crappiest way, but still, it doesn't change the fact he was trying. He had the best of intentions. Like I said, he just went about it a stupid way. But it's just making it so that the bad guy was actually a prey all along. And it's understandable why she did it, because it's like, no, like, for one, it's like, we beat the Predators like 10-1. Like, was like, I think she was like 90% of the people who live in Zootopia are prey, while the other 10% are predators and everything. So I just thought that was kind of an interesting kind of approach to it, because it's like, oh, you think someone is prey, that they're just so weak and meek, and then it turns around, it's like, oh, they're like the mastermind behind this like great plan to kind of basically put prey back on top. And it's like, make prey realize like, oh, we're not to be, you know, it's like, I guess it's more so like her own personal life as kind of being the assistant mayor, just always being pushed around. She's a small sheep lady, so no one's just always pushing her around. So she's tired of that. Plus the way things have always been. I mean, because that's another thing too I'd like to dive more into in the world of Zootopia. And maybe there's some forums or some director's code or something that kind of dives deeper into it. But I'd love to know more about that world, because we found out, like, because Judy kind of explains it like earlier on in the movie, that basically Zootopia is kind of like the centerfold of the society, in the sense of like, it's a very, well, not even a centerfold of the society, it's a place where it's like both predator and prey live. Like, is that the only city that's like that, the way they make it? Because it seems like such a special thing about Zootopia, because even on the outskirts of that city, on like smaller places, like, you know, where Judy grew up with her family had their own biases, you know, about foxes too. There was the bully dude, I'm completely blanking on his name. But I mean, eventually he grew up and was just kind of apologetic to you. He's like, I had my own issues. I was insecure as a kid, so that's why I lashed out into you and everything. And it was just like, so it seems like in, you know, at least that mentality of predator and prey kind of living together happily is only in Zootopia. I mean, granted, and that's kind of another side to the story that I appreciate too. It's like, not everything is perfect. Zootopia is supposed to be this perfect thing, but it's like, obviously the prejudice and bias was always there underneath the surface, but it just took this one incident that kind of make everything explode and everything come to the surface that people were really feeling underneath. Because everyone was deeply scared of other predators. It just took this one event to kind of spread the fear, and that's kind of the whole point of it, to make prey afraid of predators. And then it's like, no, we have to kind of almost like a witch hunt type of situation of like causing a mass panic and fear to rise up and to kind of turn people into angry mobs. And it's like, oh, we're going to kick out all the prey, or at the very least, I mean, all the predators, and they're just kind of get lower grading jobs, so like people don't have, put them in positions where they're not powerful, essentially make them feel what it's like to be prey for once. So there's little nods here and there. I also appreciate all the Zootopia kind of like versions of certain movies, like there was like a rhino version of Wreck-It Ralph and stuff like that, and even referencing future movies, like there was like a Frozen 2 with all animals. I thought was just kind of cute. And there was also that one, I kind of had to rewind it when I heard it, was like the Breaking Bad reference. There was that chemist dude that was making stuff, and then he's like, he's getting a knock at the door, he's like, it's me, Walt and Jesse. I'm like, I love to me, it's funny to me, because I was like, this is a Disney movie and you're able to make a joke like that. I mean, I guess kids wouldn't get it, but parents would be like, really? You just put that joke in there? Which isn't a bad thing. I just thought that was just kind of interesting. Like, I think everyone has their own mentality of what Disney is like, and when they do stuff like that, it's just, I guess it's such a small inside joke that it's okay. I just thought that was kind of neat. But it is a movie that I would definitely love to kind of see a sequel for. I mean, I don't know how many, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people are like it's, the thing is, it's a perfectly fine movie. It does not need a sequel, but I mean, you know, I'd be fine with there being one. I'm sure a lot of people are like, no, leave it the way it is. And I'm fine, like I said, either way would work for me, because I'd like to learn more about that world, but it could be a thing where it's like they introduce more of the world in shorts and stuff like that, because Disney tends to do that with some of its properties. Like, obviously, like the biggest example is, like, I know I've never seen them, but I am aware there are some Tangled shorts. I mean, they're shorts related to everything, but still. So it was a very beautiful movie that handles some very serious topics, had a very actiony chases and events. I really love the whole like Nick pretending to be savage and Judy playing dead, just kind of like going like, because I was wondering what that whole acting thing at the beginning, like I love that they just brought that back in that one scene. I just heard being like blah, playing up the whole dead angle, and I thought that was just kind of like a nice callback like that, because it seemed like that through the entire movie you're thinking like, okay, that's just kind of its one thing, kind of setting up who Judy is and just her wanting to be a cop and everything like that. That's what that was. But like that theater moment came back in just that small way, and I thought, oh, that was just kind of beautifully done. Like, it just a fantastic movie. I can't praise it enough. It's you know, I'm me, I don't watch a lot of movies anyway, so that's why it's taken me so long to finally work my way around it. It's probably been on Netflix for a while. I'm pretty sure it has been, because I've seen my nieces and nephew watch it, but it's like I just haven't. I saw it and I was like, you know what, I wanted to watch this movie. Like I said, once again, I've heard nothing but good things, so it's just stellar movie. That's kind of all I want to talk about. Let me know in the comments your thoughts about the movies. You agree with anything I brought up? You know, maybe you have a different interpretation of, you know, something that came up in a movie that maybe I interpreted a different way, that you're like, oh, I kind of looked at it this way. Now let me know your thoughts in general about the movie. Like I said, like, this is already spoiler territory, so it's like, go crazy with anything, you know. Tell me your favorite moments and stuff like that. Let me know all that in the comments down below. But really, that's all I want to talk about in this video. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.